is going to be very interesting. Okay.
That's one way to put it.
So we're going to get started. I want to really thank everybody that is here. Thank you so much for being here. This is New York City. We are here. We are here in our beautiful diversity. We are here in harmony and in solidarity. This is the real New York. Not what Donald Trump is presenting and espousing and his vitriol. I want to acknowledge all my colleagues that are here. We have a long speaking order, but it is important that we be heard here today. We have our public advocate, Tish James. We have our comptroller, Scott Stringer. Our state senator, Liz Kruger. And a lot of organizations that are here as well, and a lot of my colleagues. I'm going to quickly read their names. We're going to hear from them as well. Councilmember Rodriguez, Cabrera, King, Van Bramer, Levine, Deutsch, Chin, Williams, Grodenchik, Menchaca, Cornegie, Traeger, Richards, Reynoso, Cohen, Mendez, Cohen, Espinal. We're all here today. I'm going to say a few words, but I want to open this up with some of our religious leaders. I think it's important to hear from them. We asked and we reached out. This is something that I felt was important to do because New York City needed to come together. Right. Someone that lives here in New York City that is running for president does not represent what we represent. And so we wanted to hear from some of our, so this was pulled together as of yesterday. And this is the response we got. So thank you all for coming. I want to ask Imam Khalid Latif from the NYU Islamic Center, he's a police chaplain as well, to come and say a few words and open it up for us.
Thank you. The disparaging comments that Donald Trump has made over the course of his campaign against minorities of all kinds, including Muslims, Latinos, African Americans, women, those with special needs, and others, are but symptoms of a deeper and ever-going bigotry that our nation must confront. It is hard to tell whether the news we are reading is new news or the same from a previous day. Every day seems to bring word of mass shootings, more displaced hate on minorities, and extreme voices from the Republican Party being bigoted and silent when strategic for their campaigns. It is Ben Carson who said that he would never let a Muslim into his cabinet and that a Muslim could never be president. Mark Rubio, who said he would be open to shutting down mosques. And Ted Cruz, who said only refugees fleeing ISIS who could prove they are Christian should be taken into our country. As these voices speak unchecked, we see a rise in anti-Muslim sentiment that is arguably worse than even the backlash experienced immediately after September 11th. They give rise and justify to those who in the recent weeks have burned down and vandalized mosques all over this country, who have pushed down women wearing headscarves onto train tracks, shot cab drivers, and even in our own city validated for 3 young men their beating of a 6th grade Muslim girl in Harlem as they punched her, beat her, tried to rip the scarf off of her head, and called her ISIS over and over and over. That is not okay. We have to be better than that.
That's right.
I am a Muslim. I work as a university chaplain for New York University. I serve as a chaplain for the New York City Police Department and am given the rank of inspector. I've traveled on behalf of the State Department, met with the heads of Homeland Security, shared stages with the likes of Pope Francis and the Dalai Lama. I'm still one of the many Muslims in this country who have been detained, profiled, and surveilled. My home has been visited by the FBI on numerous occasions where I have been told that I am being watched because I am too good to be true. As much as I am seen as an antidote, I am still seen as a poison. For no other reason that I choose to practice the faith that I do. That is not okay. But I still stand in front of you believing that we can and will be better. We as a nation have a choice to make. At a time when we are still debating whether Black Lives Matter or not, Candidates for the highest office of our land are making statements that are indicated they speak for only a select group of Americans. We can no longer let our perspectives of each other be fueled through a media machine that seeks to sensationalize and bombard readers and viewers with narrative that serves to only segment and antagonize even further. The amplification of extreme voices has to be drowned out by our coming together. The ignorance of ISIS or the Republican right can no longer be the basis of how we function in diverse societies. We must learn the reality of struggles faced by those around us by actually being with them, as opposed to simply through the biased images that are cast in front of us every day. We do not have to be women to stand up for women's rights, black to stand up for black rights, or Muslim to stand up for Muslim rights. If you see something, say something must mean something different to us today. If you see bigotry, say something. If you see hatred, say something. If you see racism, say something. You and I have to be the change that this world needs. We cannot adopt a bitterness or passivity that lets people who have no interest other than their own self-interest succeed. We cannot lose hope. Tomorrow will be better than today, so long as you and I do our part. Our coming of together is only meaningful if we continue to come together tomorrow. We are one New York City. Let us be the reason that people have continued hope in this world, and never the reason that people dread it.
Yeah. Woo!
All right.
Powerful. Thank you, Mom. That was important that voice be here. Reverend Forbes, thank you. So I'm going to say a few words, but and then we're going to resort to ask the other speakers to come as well. So, as we said at the beginning, this is New York City. We're here today to say loud and clear to Donald Trump and to all others that speak hate and division that enough is enough. Ya basta. The rhetoric this election cycle has been nothing short of shameful, embarrassing, and at times dangerous. It is dangerous. His rhetoric this election cycle has gone from mean to hateful and now dangerous. What Donald Trump has called for, banning Muslims from entering our nation, is xenophobic, racist, Islamophobic. His fear-mongering is fanning hate. I want to assure Muslim and all New Yorkers that harassment and bias attacks have no place in our diverse and beautiful city. As a Speaker of the New York City Council, as a New Yorker, as a Boricua, as a woman, I, along with everyone here today, stand against his hateful rhetoric and call for respect and solidarity and a recommitment to our shared values. We as New Yorkers are speaking out to send a strong message to our city, state, and nation that we will not give in to the fear. We will not turn our backs on our values, and we will not let Trump's xenophobic rhetoric go unchecked and unchallenged. There is nothing left to say about Donald Trump except that he is a disgusting, racist demagogue who has no business running for president, period.
Right.
And yet, his is the leading voice in the Republican conversation about our nation's future. That conversation is becoming more and more dangerous, and yet the GOP has remained cowardly silent, refusing to condemn the increasingly hate-filled rhetoric. Some little statements here and there, but not enough is being done. Congressman Steve King has even said that he appreciates Trump and the doors he has opened for more of this kind of harmful discourse. Just listen to some of the xenophobic vitriol this man has spouted. He demonizes hardworking Mexican immigrants, labeling them criminals and rapists. He has an insane plan to deport 11 million immigrants, ripping families apart. He falsely accused thousands of Muslims in New Jersey of celebrating the tragic and painful events of 9/11 when we know that there isn't a shred of truth to that. He degrades women, insulting both a female news anchor and a fellow GOP candidate based on their gender and appearance. He harped on harmful stereotypes of Jewish Americans. He has ridiculed people with disabilities. He spit on the sacrifice of veteran John McCain, who spent years as a prisoner of war overseas, and said this brave man did not deserve to be called a war hero. And he demonizes refugees from battle-ravaged Syria, saying we should turn away these desperate families, and lies to the American people by implying they are enemies. This is an ugly campaign, and it's only getting uglier. Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Our nation was founded on the core principle that you have the right to pursue happiness no matter how you worship and no matter the color of your skin. No one will take that away from us, and especially not Donald Trump. Democracy is democracy, and while he has the right to run, we also have the right to speak up. All right, and to be clear, excuse me, ma'am, we're trying to have a conversation. Thank you. All right. And to be clear, democracy, and that is what we value. We value our voice.
Enough. Enough is 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 enough.
So,
No.
democracy is that, well, part of democracy is to be heard, isn't it? But unfortunately, not in a rude way. Everyone, all right, that which, and to be clear,
He's a fascist
all right.
pig.
Why did you let him do for the Uganda in Europe?
He's a fascist pig.
And to be clear, everyone, Democrats, so everyone,
Fascists do it.
right, everyone, to be clear, everyone, Democrats, Republicans, Independents must speak up. We don't have to tolerate this hateful, divisive, pathetic excuse for a candidate. We are better than this. Our country. All right.
Okay, she's gone.
All right. We are better than this. Our country is better than this. Americans are better than this. And let's get one thing straight, Donald Trump. It takes more than slapping your name on buildings to call yourself a New Yorker. New Yorkers are brave, open-minded, and resilient. New Yorkers refuse to be cowered by fear. New Yorkers are everything you are not. New York City is the most diverse place in the world. Many Americans across the nation can trace their ancestry to this city. And today we are gathered here as New Yorkers, as one New York City. I'm going to say a few words in Spanish, and then I'm going to ask the other religious leaders to come. Estamos aquí unidos para decirle a Donald Trump que basta ya. Su retórica en este ciclo eleccionario ha sido vergonzoso, divisorio y peligrosa. En un momento en nuestra historia en que debemos estar apoyándonos los unos a los otros, Donald Trump ha inundado la campaña con retórica de odio en contra de los inmigrantes, los refugiados, las mujeres, la comunidad LGBT, los musulmanes, los judíos, los veteranos, las personas discapacitadas. No hay nada más que decir que Donald Trump que no sea que es un demagogo racista, detestable, que no debe ni merece estar corriendo para presidente, punto. Okay, so with that, I'm going to ask Reverend James Forbes to join us and to say a few words. Thank you so much, Reverend.
So here we are again. Many of us remember when 9/11 happened. Part of what we did was respond instinctively to our fear, and so a militaristic adventure began. At the same time, we were aware that we were fighting in a struggle where ideology was important, and the issue was, do those who seek to destroy us believe more strongly in what they say than we believe in what we say? some of the current comments made in the airways about Muslim brothers and sisters makes us wonder, do we really believe that we are one people together under God in this nation as fellow Americans? As for myself, I recall that I am because we are. I am a Christian because Christians and Muslims and Jews and Buddhists are all children of the one God. Any action taken by any one of us, a citizen or a politician, that raises the question as to whether the unity of our being is greater than the ideologies which divide us, that's a problem. So all I would like to do is, number one, to say I am here to make sure that any of my Muslim brothers and sisters understand that when anyone takes a target at them, they are taking a target at me. I am a Christian minister, but they are my brothers and sisters, and we are in solidarity. Whether or not Christians do evil, or Muslims do evil, or any other religious group, we who are for life and hope and peace and compassion and respect, we are in solidarity. Let nothing, no politician, no rhetoric divide us. But more than that, I want to say one last word for those who find comfort and those who are bellicose with muscle. We want muscle, but we want your mind too. We want to have security, but we want a world in which our children will not have the same ravages of doubt and fear that we have today. So those who are excited about folks getting ready to send people away and to sign up people, why don't you get a second opinion? And remember, don't you remember when they say, accentuate the positive, eliminate the negative, latch on to the affirmative, and don't mess with Mr. In Between? Why don't we find what is it that we believe in so much as Americans and as brothers and sisters of multiple faiths, that nobody in the world who takes the path of death and destruction has a chance in competition with those of us who offer respect, for justice, for mercy, for compassion, for all of us. That's the way we're going to win this battle.
Amen.
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 We also have, we're going to have Seth Wax, New York Board of Rabbis. Rabbi Wax is he here? I don't.
Rabbi Wax.
Rabbi Wax, page
Okay. We'll ask Reverend Q English to come and say a few words. You'll be here.
Rabbi Kaplan is.
Oh, Reverend.
Rabbi
Okay.
Kaplan.
Okay. We had somebody else. Rabbi Kaplan. Yes.
Rabbi Bob Kaplan from the Jewish Community Relations Council of New York. I just want to use the operative word, unacceptable. It is simply unacceptable for someone to say in America is based upon freedom of religion, freedom of thought, and freedom to connect to who and what we are as Americans. And when one person says that because someone has a religion, someone has a faith, and faith is dear to my heart, when someone has a faith and when someone is a Muslim, that they simply should not be allowed to come to our country, our world, our democracy, it is simply unacceptable. And only by standing here together, this is Hanukkah right now, soon to be Christmas, soon to be many other holidays, that we in our diversity will celebrate together, arms around each other, with a common vision of where we're taking our country. And during Hanukkah, we do one very important thing. We light candles. But we light candles in an increasing manner rather than in a decreasing manner. In other words, we light 8, we start with 1, and we eventually get to 8. And the message is that we are here to increase the light and not to increase the darkness. We are here to increase the light and not to increase the darkness. And we have to ensure that those who are there to increase the darkness are overshadowed, are illuminated by that light of each and every person standing here, and everyone that would want to stand here that believes in what America is truly all about, a democracy which we can all participate in. Thank you very much. Happy holidays.
Reverend Q English.
Still got
Reverend Q, English, Q-U-E, English. If you want to know what peace looks like, this is what peace looks like. It's us standing together, refusing to give in to the rhetoric, and not only refusing to give in, but to stand up against it. We are here as faith leaders and others because we believe in the healing of the nation. And peace will bring healing, while the words that have been echoing over the weeks and the months is breeding grounds for war. And we're saying that we will not stand idly by to watch that happen. He will not be the next president of the United States of America. We declare that Donald Trump will not be the next president of America. As I think of this, what becomes equally alarming to me is not only his words, but is the support that he has by our fellow Americans. It's the words that are echoing and cheering as he says these words. I want to give a message to our Americans. Don't be duped by the hype. Don't allow yourselves to be fear-laden to the point where you become Donald Trump's protege. I am asking all of our fellow Americans to take the scales off of their eyes and recognize that hatred can only lead to war. And we as faith leaders are determined to continue to be instruments of healing in this city as we stand along our speaker, Melissa, and others that are saying enough is enough. God bless you.
Amen.
From the New York Buddhist Council, T.K. Nagakaki. Yes. This one here.
Okay. My name is TK Nakagaki, Nakagaki, and I'm president of the Buddhist Council of New York and also vice chair for the Interfaith Center of New York. And I would like to express from my Buddhist faith at this point. But Buddhism, as you probably heard from the Dalai Lama, His Holiness, always very famous nowadays. But then this part of the compassion, wisdom is a very, very important part of the Buddhism. And in order to be compassionate, you have to be also have the mind of respect. And this particular, Mr. Donald King doesn't have a respect to all the other faiths. I mean, it seems like if you disrespect one faith, then in the end, maybe next he might disrespect other faiths too. And so this is just kind of one thing that you have to understand. And then the part of the Buddhism also, we emphasize, compassion, not just the mind, but also the kind words too. The words can really harm others too. We talk about violence as a physical violence, but actually what he has been demonstrating for me is like, verbal violence. And so that should be also have to be carefully, we also too though, because we easily say few words and then, but the words can really, fire somebody to do the action of, harming others. So actually words itself is really something that I hope he will be very careful, and we should be all careful. And at the same time, the mind of hate should be changed to the mind of love and the mind of compassion. So I hope this will give us a lesson also, because this is a difficult situation, but at the same time, we learn from his attitude. Then do we want to be like him or not? And at the same time, he should be also learning from our attitude that we try to unite here. And I thought this is a country called United Nations, United States. So sorry. The words united for me is very important, this place. And so, what he tried to do now seems like divide our friends. And your friends could become an enemy next point. Like I experienced as I part of the Japanese American the place. So before the World War II, they are friends. But then, after the World War II, they become enemy and they are sentenced to the concentration camp. This may happen again too. So what I would like to warn you, this is the 70th anniversary too, right? I mean, 70 years ago, World War II is over, but then we may start again. The one point for sure is don't try to create the enemy or divide us, but rather unite us. And so that's that I would like to share the message from the Buddhist standpoint. So I thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to hear from some of our elected officials. I just want to name some of the organizations that are here with us today. We have the Commissioner of the New York City Commission on Human Rights, Commissioner Malalis is here. We have Planned Parenthood, Safe Horizon, Live On New York City, New Creations Ministries, Metropolitan Community Church, St. Peter's Church, St. Philip's Church, New York Communities for Change, Make the Road, JCRC, NICE, Northern Manhattan Immigration Coalition, Worker Justice Project, MASA, and Lincoln Center for the Performing Arts. I'll name some others in a little bit. I will now ask our public advocate, Letitia James, to say a few words. Thank you for being here.
I am African American, but today I am Muslim. I am Jewish. I am disabled. I am Mexican. I am a veteran. I'm a refugee. Because today we are one. We are a country built by a diverse fabric of communities and faiths. We are a country sustained by the pillars of tolerance, respect, diversity, freedom, and equality. And we will not allow anyone to separate us from the values that so many, including Muslims, have fought and died for on our soil and on foreign soil. We will not allow it. Donald Trump's most recent remarks are not only hateful and ignorant, but they feed right into the hands of terrorists. And that should disqualify him as president of these United States. That's right. The Statue of Liberty stands in New York as a beacon and a symbol for everything that he would like to destroy. And we will not turn our backs on the Statue of Liberty. We will not turn our backs on freedom or tolerance. And we will not allow fear and hysteria to grip us and to turn us away from the values we hold dear or to close our borders to those who are seeking freedom. Trump thinks he can get away with this by dividing us. He built his wealth off the backs of New Yorkers, and our city will not stand for his xenophobia or for his hateful words. Every day, thousands of Muslims and others and people of color in New York City and millions across this country who love freedom have helped us build the American dream. And if Donald Trump wants to come after our Muslim brothers or anyone else, he will have to contend with all of us. That's right. Every Christian, every Jew, Hindu, Sikh, people of all faiths and no faith at all, will all stand together against his hate, no matter our religion, no matter our national origin, no matter our race. And Mr. Trump, love Trump, Trump, Trumps.
Love Trump, Trump. Love Trump, Trump.
I want to thank the Speaker, Melissa Mark-Viverito, for bringing us all here today.
Oh, yeah.
But I also want to thank one of our own who has demonstrated true leadership, a Republican. I want to thank Councilmember Eric Ulrich for stepping up and doing the right thing.
Thank you, Tish. I also want to recognize our colleague, Councilmember Miller, has joined us, and Senator Adriano Espaillat. If I'm missing anybody, please somebody tap me on the shoulder. We'll now hear, and thank you for being here, Scott, from our Comptroller, Scott Stringer.
Thank you. Thank you. Melissa, thank you so much for bringing us all together. I just want to talk for a minute about the Republicans, because back in the day, they had a pretty impressive history. In fact, the Republican Party was christened by Horace Greeley, a New York newspaper man who's memorialized with a statue here at City Hall. In an 1854 editorial, Greeley wrote that, quote, Republican would be the best name for those who had united to restore the Union to its true mission as champions of liberty, rather than propagandists of slavery. And in 1860, the great champion of liberty, Abraham Lincoln, was elected as the nation's first Republican president. So 150 years later, what the hell happened? How did the party of Greeley and Lincoln end up being the party that attacks religious freedom, spews hate, and seeks to divide our people? I would argue that the Republicans have been going down this road for a long, long time.
Yes, sir.
But now we're at a crossroads. If the Republican leadership thinks that they can last another 150 years by trying to sell the American people hatred, they have another thing coming.
That's right.
The time is now for these leaders, the party of Greeley and Lincoln, to stand up across the country and be counted. Now is the time to reject racism. And I have a message for them, and I think we all know what's coming. If they do not stand up and be counted at this very moment, they are in real risk of ending the party of Lincoln. Because these members of the Senate and Congress, the legislature, they're all going to be asked for the rest of their political lives, where were you before the Iowa caucuses? Where did you stand? Did you stand up and reject this hate? The future of their party depends on it. And I would argue the future of our nation depends on it as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, Scott.
We've been also joined by Council Members Gibson and Lander, and we will now hear from our State Senator, Liz Krueger.
Thank you.
Yes, Senator.
People have already said it, so I'll say it quickly. Demagogues, fascists tend to sneak up on you. They've done it throughout history. We learn the lessons of history. This is the United States. This country was founded on the principles of religious freedom, of being a haven for people from around the world who have come here to make their lives better and the lives of their children better. When I listen to Donald Trump, I think of the fact that I'm a proud Jew, and if it was 60 years ago and I was in Europe, as my family was, I'd be scared as hell about where this country might be going. Good people are here today. Good people throughout this country need to stand up and say, this man will not be our president. That's right. And Scott Stringer's absolutely right. The Republican Party, I was going to use the Theodore Roosevelt example as well as Abraham Lincoln, but the same concept. The Republican Party, and I'm a proud Democrat, has a history of standing up and doing the right thing. Where are they today? They need to stand with us Democrats. They need to stand with people of all religions, all nationalities, and say, not in this country. Not in this country. This man, he's associated as being a politician. Many of us are politicians. Many of us know that that term has a bad reputation. Right. He's not a politician, all right? He's a showman, a demagogue, yes, a good theater performer. He has a clown, thank you, public advocate. He has no business being a candidate of any party for the presidency of the United States. We, the good people of this country, are going to make sure that never happens.
Yeah.
Thank you, Senator. Some of the other organizations, and now my colleagues, I'll be asking them to come up. Some of the other organizations that are here: Muslim Women's Institute for Research and Development, Council of People's Organization, Common Cause New York, New York Immigration Coalition, Peace Action Fund of New York State, New Yorkers for Parks, Arts and Democracy, and NOCD-NY, Drew Scott Congregation, Ramath Ora, Interfaith Center of New York. With that, I'm going to start off with Councilmember Miller. You can come and say a few words.
Right.
That's right.
Good morning and assalamu alaikum. We are here, unfortunately, again here on these steps to denounce Islamophobia. But the coalition that has assembled here, unlike when we were here a few months back over the newspaper ads that were running, look at it now. Look at the growth. This is, as the speaker said, this is the greatness of New York City. This is the greatness of America, manifested here today. This is the greatness of humanity. But our greatness and our humanity is being challenged. It's being challenged by a man who has a history of not just Islamophobia, but of hate and fear-mongering. The speaker articulated quite well all the things that he'd done of recent history, but she didn't mention the 5 young men that he asked for their execution as they were found to be innocent, the Central Park 5. He continues to do that, and I won't mention his name. But we, this coalition of folks that are gathered here today, as we are challenged, we are going to rise to that challenge. And we will stand up against the ignorance, and the ignorance that this candidate's ignorance, I will say, his ignorance is only surpassed by those who will follow him. And there are many who are following him, but we will stand up for it. So I will say, as a lone Muslim member of the city council, that I don't need to be validated, nor does any other contributions of the Muslim community, of the immigrant community, of the disabled community. No, we are not here for that, for validation. We are here to support the argument that we are one community. That's right. And that no one will take this community down. So I thank everyone for coming out. I look forward to continuing to work with each and every one here. And we know that this man will not become president of the United States. Thank you so much. God bless.
Councilmember Rodriguez.
Para mí es un placer estar aquí con la vocera, un liderazgo real. Hoy es un día muy importante. Nosotros podemos decir que no hay uno de los presentes aquí que no tenga un ancestro que no haya nacido en otro país. Here we can say that there's no one standing with me here today that doesn't have a grandfather or a great-grandfather who was born in another country. In history, a century is nothing. This nation is like a newborn baby that we have. And it is our responsibility to protect the characters of this nation. This nation is the only one that has been built by immigrants from all over the world. So this is not about campaigning for the presidential nomination. This is about a president candidate that had the support of millions of Americans that unfortunately believe in his idea. And it's a shame, because for me, Donald Trump's ideas is the same ideas of those individuals who believe in segregation. And we have to send a message saying, enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Enough.
Councilmember Chen.
Thank you. Thank you, Melissa, for bringing us together. This is a country built by immigrants. As an immigrant, I'm proud to be a New Yorker. And we are one community, one city. But we have to remember history. This country has some dark pages, okay? My office as 250 is room 1882, 1882. I have a daily reminder that this country passed law to exclude Chinese from coming to this country in 1882. And in World War II, they interned Japanese American who were U.S. citizens. So we cannot allow this kind of hate to happen again, and to happen to our Muslim brothers and sisters. So every time when someone is out there pushing hate, we have to stand together, because we are one city, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Margaret.
Thank you so much, Madam Speaker. I'm not only a council member, but I happen to be the only council member who's also a pastor.
Amen.
Of a Christian church in the Bronx. And I'm here to stand in solidarity
with our Muslim brothers, because at the very heart of this is religious freedom. It's the ability and the opportunity and the God-given right to be able to exercise your conscience. And in the very heart of the Constitution, we find that our founding fathers saw the potentiality for this religious freedom to be somewhere down in the future eliminated. But thank God that we had some wise founding fathers that somehow were able to see that perhaps we would have a Donald Trump in the future that would try to eliminate that right. And because of that, today I'm standing with our Muslim brothers, and I'm going to ask the Imam if he could come here forward, and I'm going to ask the Baha'i as a minister, Buddhist, I'm sorry, if we could stand together. And we're standing here together, and the rabbi, I don't know if he's still here.
Rabbi Kaplan. We have another rabbi.
Rabbi,
Oh, yes.
if we could hold our hands up together to let the whole world know that we're going to stand together with our Muslim brothers and whoever else is denied the right to come to this God-blessed nation, the United States of America. God bless you.
Council members, I know Eugene and also Donovan Richards joined us. Councilmember King.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Councilmember Andy King, co-chair of the Black and Latino and Asian Caucus. I stand here today in New Yorkers to strip the thread of hatred and bigotry and the lining of the coat of a person who was a TV personality, reality star. I say to us all, as a black man, as a family that's deeply rooted from the South, I understand that America has had its challenges when it comes to race relationships. However, any individual who wants to govern this great nation, running for office to govern this nation, needs to have conversations that's respectful, enlightening, informative, educational, nothing that scares the people, nothing that trips the individuals up, but something that unites us. So I'm saying to all Americans, I'm asking you right now, there is a bigotry bus going down Broadway right now, doing a drop off in the river. Americans, tell Massa, tell Mr. Trump, don't miss his ride. Have a good one.
Some of the other organizations that are here: Moroccan American Council to Empower Women, Seventh-day Adventist Church, Albanian Islamic Cultural Center, Jews for Racial and Economic Justice, Sisters of Our Lady of Zion, Our Lady of Refuge, Unite Here, Local 100, United American Muslim Association, Islamic Circle of North America, and there's more organizations that will be mentioned. Councilmember Levine.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The xenophobia of Mr. Trump, his anti-immigrant, religious bigotry, is all too familiar to anyone who knows the lessons of the last century. To anyone who knows the history of this country in the 20s, the 30s, the 40s, when we barred the doors to refugees from Europe because they were Jewish. When we passed xenophobic laws all too similar to those that Mr. Trump is currently advocating. Laws that by some estimates may have resulted in the death of as many as 2 million Jews who could have sought safe refuge here. Shame on anyone, shame on you, Mr. Trump, for repeating that same type of venomous rhetoric against our Muslim brothers and sisters in the 21st century. Shame on you, and shame on the leaders of the Republican Party, who, until they stand up and state clearly that if Mr. Trump is their nominee, they will withhold their support. Until they make such a statement, they are tacitly supporting his message of hate.
Thank you.
Right.
Councilmember Deutsch here, we love you. Thank you much. Councilmember Williams.
Assalamu alaikum. Islam, to submit. Muslim, one who submits. Those are beautiful terms that I believe we all believe. We welcome the Bible, we welcome the Torah, we welcome the Quran, we welcome the Tripitaka. I hope I pronounced that right. We welcome all the books that talk about peace. We welcome all the religions in New York City. We welcome everyone to America. I wish I could stand here and say that this is not who America is. Unfortunately, history shows us too often it is. But I'm very proud that we are they that have always stood up to vitriol. We are they who have always stood up to hatred, and we are doing so again. It's unfortunate, and I feel so bad for the people who are supporting Donald Trump, because when you are scared, you will do anything. If you are drowning and fearful, you may even grab the person who is trying to save you and push them under. And he is grabbing onto that fear and allowing people to do crazy things. But I have to also say to the Republicans and conservatives, hopefully you step up. But you have to know that he didn't come from anywhere. Those who know computers know you have to first be a computer architect and set up the environment of which things can take root. Then you have to put coders in to put codes, and sometimes you don't understand what the code is. But when it pops up on the computer, you immediately understand it. And the conservatives and Republicans have been setting up this atmosphere for many, many years. And they have been writing up the code. And who came up? Donald Trump. You have created this environment for this man to speak this way and endanger all of us.
A virus.
He is a virus. But we will continue to stand tall because we will always be one America. We will stand for love. We will stand for peace. Because I thank God, even though the road is long, it has always won out. It will win again. Thank you.
All right.
I'm going to ask Rabbi Karen Kleinbaum to say a few words and join us, please.
Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for bringing us together today. Thank you. This is what real government should look like.
Yes.
Leadership that brings this range of people together to make a statement about what we want our city, our country, and our world to look like. Sometimes we have to dream big to imagine that future, but I believe that is what leadership is about. I represent Congregation Beit Simchat Torah, New York City's LGBTQ synagogue. And our history has told us two things. One is that it's only when we join together that we can get through the desert, through the wilderness, to find a promised land together. There is no such thing as getting there alone. It doesn't exist. And two, we have to believe in the possibilities even when the time looks grim. Our history has taught us as religious people that there are two reasons to stand firm in our belief of a country that embraces all of us. One is theological. We believe God demands of us to walk the path of justice, to do it humbly, and to constantly seek out justice in this world. And the second is historical and sociological. So many of us on these steps have been oppressed by forces in the world targeting our particular groups, our particular identities. And it only works when we are left alone to face those forces. And now today we join together in this month of festivals of light to say we will not be alone. We will not leave our Muslim brothers and sisters alone. Our synagogue reaches out to any mosque in this city to say at any moment a mosque feels threatened or alone to reach out to us, and we will come and be there to say that we will not be divided again. And on that level, we have to thank Trump. Just like many of us in the gay community thanked Anita Bryant back in the 70s for bringing us together in a way we couldn't have imagined. Let's mark this day as a moment of unity and of building coalitions that are unbreakable. Yes. And let us be the tribute to Trump that the towers we will build will be bigger than any of his, because these will be towers of love and of unity and of working through differences that might exist to come to the deeper unities that join us all together. May this be a season of holiness for everybody, a season of peace, and a season in which we all experience what we know, that each of us is created in God's image. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can we get Councilmember Menchaca, you want to come say a few words, please? And I'm going to ask Senator Espaillat to come on.
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias.
My name is Carlos Menchaca. I'm a Mexican. I am not a criminal. I am gay. and I am not a rapist. I am an elected official here in New York City, representing the people of our districts. We are here with one very, very clear message, that we are united. And when I think about this moment, this is a moment that it will define our generation. And so we will continue to do what the City Council has been doing for the last 2 years, is to continue to ignite that power in our communities. And so I ask all young people in our communities, Latinos, gay, women, everyone, to register to vote. We have that power, and our generation will be defined by understanding that power. And I have faith. I have listened to so many people of faith today, and I know that we will overcome this. And when we overcome this, we will be singing our song of Si Se Puede. Can you help me? Si se puede, si se puede, si se puede, si se puede,
Si se puede.
Thank you.
Se puede. Senator Escayat.
Si se puede.
Thank you, Speaker, for bringing New York together. If you look back, this is the face of New York City.
Yes.
And so the ugly face of hatred sticks his head out the window once again, as it has throughout history. As it did when Japanese Americans were imprisoned in concentration camps. As it did when African Americans were sicked with dogs and water hoses. As it did when thousands of people in the South were lynched in the 30s and 20s. As it has done periodically throughout our history. But we are here together because we know that if we cannot stand together, we will be lynched separately. So we're here together to answer to that ugly face that once again, the ugly face of hatred has stuck its head out the window one more time.
Right.
And if the Republican Party wants to reject this, then let them strip the enrollment on that party for Donald Trump. Push him out the party if you don't believe in what he's saying. And so that's where we stand today. Estamos aquí apoyando a los neoyorquinos, porque sabemos que cuando Trump ataca a los mexicanos, también ataca a los puertorriqueños. Cuando ataca a las mujeres, también está atacando a nuestras familias. Cuando ataca a los sirios, también está atacando a todos los grupos étnicos de nuestra ciudad. Por esto estamos aquí, porque si no nos unimos, seremos víctimas solitarias, sin voz y sin futuro, sin ninguna incidencia en esta ciudad. Estamos empujando, y si realmente el Partido Republicano no cree en lo que él dice, que le quite su estatus dentro del partido y que lo expulse para siempre. Gracias.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning. My name is Barry Grodenchik, and I have the honor of being the newest elected official in the city of New York. 3,000 years ago, King Solomon said, Yesh Ziman v'makum b'shvil kol devarim. There is a time and a place for all things. Today is a day that we come together to denounce hate. As an elected official from one of the most diverse communities in the borough of Queens, in Eastern Queens, where we're home to Muslims and Sikhs and Hindus and Christians from southern India, from Kerala, I say to you today, I am embarrassed that Donald Trump grew up in the borough of Queens. He is an embarrassment to the people of Queens County, the 2.3 million people of Queens who live together every day in peace and harmony. On December 27th, we will celebrate the 358th anniversary of the signing of the Flushing Remonstrance in the village of Flushing. The people of Flushing came together to welcome Turks and Egyptians and Jews. It was revolutionary then. It's unfortunately, apparently, still revolutionary to some people. It is the forerunner of the Bill of Rights of the United States Constitution. I say to Mr. Trump, you obviously were not in school that day when they taught that lesson. You got to go back and reread it. We are here today, without question, with all the people who represent the city of New York, to categorically, in every way, reject his message of hate. Thank you, and God bless you all for being here.
Councilmember Carnegie. Councilmember Carnegie.
Assalamu alaikum.
So I want to thank the speaker for having this press conference. It's something that we had talked about in the council for a long time as people of color. I actually want to thank Donald Trump for giving us an opportunity to unite again around his rhetoric. What I do understand is that how beautiful it is to stand with this mosaic that shows the beauty of New York City. Although this press conference is about Donald Trump's rhetoric, there are certain conditions that have to exist in order for him to rise to prominence. And we have to attack those conditions. Those conditions around bigotry and racism, which have existed for centuries, have to be attacked. So although I'm here to denounce Donald Trump as a presidential candidate, I still say that we have to, whether he's here, he actually just represents the face of something very evil in this country. And we have to begin to get to the root and seek out those conditions that create a Donald Trump and all of those Donald Trumps that are out there, because he has followers. And we have to be stronger and larger in number than those who would like to see this exist. So I just again want to thank the speaker. I want to thank everybody who's here today. I want you to go on social media and talk about this, because we know social media now, outside of our regular mainstream media, is the biggest asset that we have. And we should just hashtag love.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you to my colleagues and friends. I am here today not because of Donald Trump. I am here today because I love New York City and I love this great nation. And I have a message for my fellow New Yorkers and fellow Americans. Donald Trump does not love America. He does not love America. Because you cannot claim to love this nation and ignore the fact that the early Americans were religious refugees themselves. You cannot ignore the fact that this nation, from the ground up, was built by the hands of immigrants. You cannot ignore the fact that what unites us is far more stronger than what divides us. This is a person who is engaging in a strategy of divide and conquer. That is one of the most un-American things that I could have ever heard or seen. And I just want to say this. An attack against our Muslim brothers and sisters is an attack against all of us. It's an attack against every American that claims to love this nation. And Mr. Trump, you claim to be a very smart businessman. Let me tell you this. The most important products that we export are not your ties, they're not your golf clubs. The most important products that America exports is freedom and liberty. And we will continue to stand in unison and unity to defend those precious principles. In solidarity, let's dump Trump.
I was going to announce some of the other groups that are here. Turning Point for Women and Families, the Church of the Ascension, Women in Islam, Masbia, Mixteca, Gonzalo Mercado we have Gonzalo Mercado representing the Staten Island Community Job Center, Muslim Officers Society, Islamic Leadership Council of Greater New York, New York Neighbors for American Values. And with that, I would like to ask Pastor Michael Walren to come and say.
Good morning. Much has already been said, and I will be very brief. We want to thank the speaker for gathering us this morning, but the truth of the matter is many of us are here this morning because we are weary. We are weary of the televised insanity of Donald Trump. We are weary of the reckless ranting of a man who is intoxicated with the aroma of his own arrogance. We are weary of this moment. We are weary of how he preys upon the fear and ignorance that is rampant and pervasive in our country. Our public advocate said something. She made an allusion to the Statue of Liberty. Many don't know that the Statue of Liberty, original name was not the Statue of Liberty. It was a Lady of Exile. And on the base of that statue, it says, "Send me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free." And now we are witnessing publicly a man who is seeking to suffocate those who desire to breathe free. And we are weary of that. We stand in solidarity with our Muslim brothers and sisters today. I am keenly aware, as all of us are, that those radical Islamic terrorists do not represent all of Islam and do not represent Muslims who believe in peace and justice and freedom and equality. And I know that. They do not represent Islam no more than Christians who are members of the KKK, went to church on Sunday morning, and then in the evening lynched black bodies. They did not represent Christianity. And so we are aware what is happening in this city, what is happening in this nation, and what Mr. Trump is seeking to do. And we are tired of it. And so we stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters, and we declare to Mr. Trump and to those who follow him, who believe that bigotry and divisiveness and hate speech is the way of this country. We stand against that. We rebel against that. And we stand united to declare that we are citizens of the United States of America. God bless.
We're coming towards the end of our speaking program. I'm going to ask Councilmember Lander to say a few words, then Councilmember Richards.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for your leadership. Assalamu alaikum. My people were refugees too. In 1939, in Hamburg, Germany, 937 Jews boarded a ship called the St. Louis. Being born in St. Louis, I feel a kinship. And they, because of demagogues, because of fascists in suits, sailed to this hemisphere and found no port open to them. Because people preaching hatred whipped up the fears of others, they were turned around. And even at that moment, a Democratic president's ears were deaf. And that ship, the St. Louis, sailed back to Germany, and most of the people on that ship were killed in death camps. So we know that even though people may appear to be clowns, clowns can be dangerous. And while it's tempting to ignore and hope it'll go away, we have a responsibility to stand up, especially those of us whose peoples have seen it themselves, but really every one of us in New York, to stand up against whether they're clowns, whether they're in suits, whatever their hair looks like. They can be dangerous, and so we are here to stand with our Muslim brothers and sisters and say, not on our watch. Thank you.
Excellent. Councilmember Richards. Good morning. Last week, last Sunday to be exact, my wife and I gave birth to a beautiful 7-pound, 12-ounce baby. And when we brought him into this world, we didn't envision that we would still be having this conversation that was happening in the 60s and many centuries before he was even born. I don't want my son living in a world where Donald Trump is his leader. A leader who is saying that his very existence should not be. I'm very embarrassed that Donald Trump is from Queens, and may Donald Trump come back home. May he be reminded of the very place that he grew up in, a very diverse place where Muslims, and I know he lives somewhere near Jamaica Avenue, last I'm reminded there are many Muslims in that community. There are many Christians, there are different nationalities, different diversity in that community. May you be reminded and not forget where you've come from. The simplest message we can send to Trump is at the ballot box. And as we stand here today, I'm calling and asking all our clergy, everyone should take their kids to the polls. We should drive out voter registration like we've never seen it to send a clear message to Mr. Trump that his divisiveness, that his racism, that his bigotry has no place, not only in this city, but in this world or country. I want to thank the Speaker for her leadership. May we not go back. And that is the message we need to send. We're not going back.
Councilmember Gentili.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, thank you for bringing us together today, because this could be a flash bulletin to Donald Trump. This gathering here today is a flash bulletin to him that there are people that disagree with him, because in Donald Trump's world, he thinks everyone agrees. But this is a flash bulletin to him that we do not agree with him. It's also another flash bulletin to him, if he doesn't know it yet, but any fifth grader would tell him that what he proposes is unconstitutional and would be declared so even before the ink on any order were dried on such an order. So he really is someone that gives us the opportunity again today to display another constitutional right, and that is to oppose any speech with more speech. And so whatever he says, we will oppose with more speech like we do here today. So thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving us this opportunity to exercise that constitutional right and let our voices be heard. Thank you.
A couple more religious leaders and then we're closing. I have Reverend Juan Carlos Ruiz from St. Peter's Church.
Amen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Conocemos las caras de violencia. Las conocemos bien en nuestras comunidades. Sabemos que la violencia nos demoniza, nos quita la dignidad, ataca a nuestras familias, se entrona en políticas racistas, xenofóbicas. Hoy día, Nueva York le dice no a esa violencia. La violencia genera más violencia. Le decimos no a los Trumps, a toda persona que actúa en contra de nuestras comunidades, a todos aquellos que hablan en contra de nuestra dignidad. Hoy, como Nueva York, nos levantamos y denunciamos toda persona, todo acto que demoniza y vilifica a nuestros hermanos y hermanas. Yo vine en los 80 como indocumentado mexicano. Tengo el privilegio de vivir y ser ciudadano de este país. Pero es una obligación moral de hablar contra todo aquel, contra toda aquella que de alguna manera atenta contra nuestra dignidad. So, I want to ask you, turn to your brother, turn to your sister next to you, and basically say to him or to her, your fight is my fight. Let me hear you. Your fight
is my fight.
So we today, we recognize our common humanity, a humanity that is being attacked, that is being belittled, that is being demonized by vilifying, belittling our brothers and sisters from the Muslim community. We denounce and we stand together against all hate, against all acts of violence and impunity. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Reverend. Now we'll hear from Sunita Viswanath.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Sunita Vishwanath of Sadhana, Coalition of Progressive Hindus. Hinduism is a religion which has pluralism at its core. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is one family. We are one. As a Hindu, as an American citizen, and as a daughter of the world, I am deeply offended by Donald Trump's recent statements calling for Muslims to be denied entry to this country and for there to be a registry of Muslim Americans. The shooter in Colorado Springs does not represent all Christians. The Hindu mob in India who lynched a Muslim for suspicion of eating beef does not represent me or my community. And are you listening, Donald Trump? The perpetrators of the massacres in San Bernardino and Paris do not represent the peaceful Muslims we know and love. We people of faith who care about justice must take back our religions from those who are motivated by hatred. And we must ensure that we do not respond to hate with hatred. We must say a resounding no, in the words of Pope Francis, to every attempt to impose uniformity, and a yes to a diversity accepted and reconciled. And so, with my Muslim, Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, and non-religious brothers and sisters who are gathered here today, I say no to the fascist ideology of Donald Trump. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough.
Thank you. All right, and the last speaker, Melissa Mark-Viverito from the Workers' Justice Project.
Well, thank you for having me, and I want to thank the speaker for really standing up for all New Yorkers. My name is Ligia Hualpa, and I'm an immigrant myself, and I'm also an immigrant of a day labor, an immigrant and a garment worker. And I'm also the executive director of the Workers' Justice Project, a community organization that is made up of day laborers of domestic workers that are organizing and fighting back day to day to to achieve the basic American dream, that the right to have a better life. And the reason I'm here tonight is because the rhetoric of racism and hatred in our city, in our nation, will not be tolerated. And I just wanted to send a very simple message to Donald Trump and many others that are out there, that they don't represent the very core values of our nation, not from the dreams that this nation was built on. And most importantly, to let them know that we will stand with our sisters and brothers to defend the very basic human right and the basic American dream that has brought us together, to have access to a better life. And you know what? We will stand together behind that dream. That every human being, despite their faith, their color, their gender preference, we will fight together to achieve that very human right, the right to have a better life. And I want to say that we will not tolerate racism and hatred in our nation. And the history has showed us that hatred and racism has only hurt our families in our nation. And we will not let that happen again. Not in our nation, not in our city. So it is time, and we have showed today that we can come together, that we'll stand up together and we will take out the streets to defend our right, our values, and to defend our dream of a better life. The dream of also we will defend our freedom. We will defend our families. We will defend our nation against from racism and hatred. So we will stand together and we will defend the very basic human right and the dream that we all have the right to have a better life. And we can do it, and we can take the streets. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all very much for being here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Love Trump. Thank you. Any questions?
What do you want New York?
Madam Speaker, what do you want New Yorkers to do? What do you want them to know? What action do you want them to take?
People need to speak up and denounce the hatred that is being presented. This is what this is about. This is the face of New York City.
Yes.
You know, and all the actions that we've taken as a city council as well, through the initiatives that we funded, through the priorities that we've made, demonstrate that we are a city of inclusion and that we respect our differences. And that is why it's important against any hate crime that exists or any language that exists, that we need to step up and denounce it.
That's right. Amen.
If the city should stop doing business with Donald Trump.
Listen, there's a lot of ideas being floated out there, and I'm sure that they will be looked at thoroughly.
Do you think that's a good idea?
What?
That the city stop doing business with Trump?
I mean, to the extent that our whatever contracting, and we have our controller here as well, but what other ways we engage in business, those are always things that if people are asking us to take a look at that, we can look at that. That's not a decision that we can make at this moment, but you have to decide.
Look, at the end of the day, Donald Trump, as a businessman, has to assess the reputational harm he's putting his companies at. And there's reputational harm for his companies. So the more he spews hatred, the more vulnerable the brand name is going to be. And obviously that's something that we have to look at as we think about the city economy.
We have to uphold our values through the power that we have. And if we cannot, if we're standing here saying that we are not going to allow racism to permeate this discourse and that we reject that, if that is deeply what he believes as a businessman, I think that we should question whether or not we should do business with him.
Can the city legally end the contract?
That's a conversation to be had. I think we can also look at prospectively in terms of whether we do concessions or franchise agreements, whatever that is. Those are things that could be looked at.
What do you want Donald Trump to do?
Drop out.
Drop out. Drop out. Just